Hello everyone, welcome to this series on the history of English literature. And in this video, we are going to discuss the development of literary style in the age of Chaucer. Introduction. The period under review highlights the movement from an experimental phase to a more stable and defined literary style in English literature. Geoffrey Chaucer plays a pivotal role in this transformation, setting the foundation for the main lines of development in English literary style. His influence helped shape the structure and direction of English poetry and prose, moving away from the heavy influence of French. Development of poetry. Geoffrey Chaucer's contributions were crucial in establishing a unified English poetic style. His works provided a framework that would guide the development of English poetry for generations. Chaucer's impact is evident in the shift towards simplicity and greater flexibility in poetic forms. Meter and structure in poetry. One of the notable trends in the development of English poetry is the movement towards simplicity and dexterity. Earlier complex stanzas gradually gave way to simpler forms like rhyme royale and shorter verses. This simplification was accompanied by increased flexibility in meter, allowing for the substitution of three-syllabled feet for two-syllabled ones. Such changes brought about a combination of simplicity and freedom, which became defining characteristics of English verse. This contrasted sharply with the quantitative classical measures and the syllabic nature of French poetry. Revival of alliteration. The period also saw a revival in the use of alliteration, rooted in Old English verse. Post-Norman conquest, one of the earliest examples of this revival is the anonymous poem Vinear and Vesture 1352. This tradition continued with alliterative romances like Cleaness and reached its peak with Pious Plowman. Despite its popularity, Pious Plowman did not inspire significant literary descendants. Instead, the use of alliteration became more ornamental than essential to the metrical scheme in subsequent poetry. Poetic diction. During this period, there was a strong inclination towards using ornate French and classical terms, especially in the early works of Chaucer and Gower's Confessio Amantis. While the more elaborate orate diction of the succeeding generation had not yet been achieved, the temptation to incorporate French terms was quite strong. However, Langland's work stood out for its greater simplicity, using French elements sparingly, which aligned more closely with the plain and unadorned style of ballads. Development of prose. The development of prose during this period was still in its infancy, yet it showed significant progress from earlier times when English was heavily influenced by French. This period marked the beginning of English prose finding its own identity, moving away from French dominance towards greater clarity and vigor. Key prose figures. Several key figures contributed to the development of prose during this time. John Wycliffe. His prose, while unpolished, was pointed and vigorous, reflecting a departure from the mixed French-English writing of the past. Sir John Mandeville. Mandeville's prose style was straightforward, characterized by short, workmanlike sentences and rare brevity for the time. This clarity and directness marked a significant development in English prose. Sir Thomas Malory. Writing somewhat later, Malory developed an individual style that, while unadorned, carried a direct romantic flavor and distinguished phraseology. His prose stood apart from his predecessors and had little influence on subsequent writers. Malory's work represents a high point in the development of prose style, demonstrating a unique blend of simplicity and narrative elegance. Characteristics of early prose. Early prose was characterized by the mixing of French and English elements, but it gradually evolved towards a more straightforward and unadorned style. This period saw the emergence of distinct prose styles such as Malory's Romantic prose, which marked a significant departure from the prose of earlier writers. Conclusion. In conclusion, the development of literary style in poetry and prose during this period reflects a move towards simplicity, flexibility, and clarity. Geoffrey Chaucer's influence on poetry, the revival and subsequent ornamental use of alliteration, and the evolving prose styles of Wycliffe, Mandeville, and Malory illustrate the rich and dynamic growth of English literary forms. This evolution set the stage for the flourishing of English literature in the centuries to come, establishing a foundation that would influence countless writers and poets. So this was the discussion on the development of literary style in the age of Chaucer. We will meet in the next video and discuss some other topic. Until then, goodbye and thank you.